Well, hey there, and welcome into another episode of the Storyworld Podcast. Steve Stram here. Your boy Al, what's up, man?
Just living the life over here, Steve. I like the get up that you have, the blue.
Yeah.
It's a contrast from your typical black.
Yeah. Wait, what blue? What black? I'm so confused.
Your shirt you're wearing. At least it's blue to me.
Oh, it's gray. It's
Oh,
gray.
okay. I got some weird stuff going on then with the color on my screen.
Yeah, either that or you're colorblind and you just found out.
Don't you usually see like a lack of color? Don't you? I don't think color.
No, it's
Uh,
different colors. Yeah,
uh,
you see different colors.
I
Like
don't
you
know.
might be like, yeah, see green instead of red or something like that. I don't know.
That could
Anyway,
be. Gray is
yes.
just an
So
off black, so I guess that counts.
sure, right? So, this I have no idea what this podcast is called. I barely know what it's about. So I think we're just going to call it Alex. I
Yes.
don't know. But no, I here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about your fiction writing, and you are a fantasy writer, and you have started a YouTube channel, and you're doing a bunch of cool stuff with that. And I don't know, I just kind of thought we would like take a deep dive into the world and mind of Alex and what you got going on and what your plans are, and yeah, what you're doing.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes. I have been known by many as a fantasy writer. I can, it's you, and then there's me, and then there's all the characters that I invent in my little mind. So
Yes,
there's quite a group of us.
you are very popular in your world.
Yes, I am. But no, so things are going good. I have to say, I owe a lot of gratitude to you, Steve, for helping me kind of
Oh,
get the website going on, helping me kind of understand how to put myself out there. But yes, yeah, and I mean, you can ask any questions that you want, but I know that the big thing at the moment is just kind of releasing a lot of new YouTube videos for my podcast. If anyone's
mm.
interested in me, we can link it in the description here, but it's J Alex Jagir, and you can find me on there. But I have about 7 videos so far, and making about 4 or 5 each week, so definitely very active with it.
Yeah, that like I'm really impressed at the level of output. I mean, you're doing like shorts and long form. And we did build you a slamming website. I mean,
You
I'm
did.
just gonna put that out there.
It is
It's
excellent.
pretty slick. It's
It
pretty
is really
slick.
good. The letter
Looks
J,
good.
alexjagir.com. Go ahead to it. It's really nice.
Yeah, go to it, and man, that sucker updates with all your latest content and everything, like automatically, like with the wave of a wand. It's just really good. So, yeah. So you have started. So take us back a little bit, right? So you are. You've always been interested in fantasy. Obviously, like Lord of the Rings was a big thing for you. Thomas Covenant series was a big thing for you. You are writing fantasy. So I mean, is that your goal to like full time be a fantasy writer one day? I mean, are you the next Brandon Sanderson himself, and you're just like right here?
I am. I already am the next Brandon Sanderson. Just no one knows it yet, Steve.
So that's guaranteed. Okay, cool, good.
You know what? It's I don't have any. So some people go into things with goals like I will be the best person at this, or I will make it to the very top. I don't have any grand or lofty goals like that.
Mm.
I guess you could say my goal is lofty. I'd like to at some point in the future be able to live off of my writing. I
Yeah.
would rather have that be sooner than later, but even if it's 20 years down the road and I can maybe retire a little early, then have retirement income coming through and keep writing, that would make me just as happy as well. I would like to have that happen within the next 10 years or so. And I think it's possible with my business plan of the scheduling of releasing my books, plus with consistently uploading podcasts. So if you think about it, if I do, let's say 5 YouTube videos a week over 40 weeks, let's say I get sick, you're on vacation, blah, 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 throughout the year, that's 200 videos a year plus 200 shorts to go along with it. As long as it's quality stuff, talking about my writing, keeping it good, and then also releasing books throughout that timeline, within 10 years, a lot of things can happen. So that's kind of the long-term
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, and that it's that commitment too, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like the commitment is almost half the battle of
Mm.
just saying. And some people will be like, "Well, I'm gonna try to do this for 6 months," and then it's like, okay, well, what do you plan to what do you plan for that 6 months to accomplish? And then you got some
Right.
people who are like, "I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life." and like you just know that they're being so unrealistic about it,
Mhm.
especially if you have some knowledge of the inner workings of what goes into some of this stuff. It's like, yeah, you're probably going to drop off after 3 weeks. Like there's literally a term that was invented when new podcasters start. It's called pod fade, because there's
Mm.
such statistics around a new podcast getting started. And guess what the magic number is? 7. Most new podcasts don't make it beyond 7 episodes, and that's called pod fading. It's like a thing, right?
Mm.
And so I love that, but I love that you've got this 10-year goal. That 10-year goal says, okay, 10 years is a long time. I grant that. But this is the thing that I really want to do for the rest of my life. And
Yep.
there's no way, with a consistent effort and a commitment to quality, that in 10 years, this is not going to go anywhere. That seems almost impossible. Like that
Yep.
seems less likely than it happening. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and you and I talk about that a lot, and I'm glad you brought it up for other people to hear too, because it is true that you make your own luck when it comes to consistency and quality. And I think in a way, consistency is more beneficial than quality as long as your quality meets a minimum standard of quality. Someone
Mm-hmm.
who is the best writer in the world, but that doesn't put his writing out or doesn't try very hard, you may never hear about your entire life. But someone who is an okay writer, hey, I'm okay being an okay writer if I can keep getting people interested in
Yeah.
me and just enjoying what I have to put out. I am definitely okay
Mm-hmm.
settling to be that okay writer, if
Yeah.
that's what it takes.
Yeah, and writing, I mean, this is true with a lot of things, but like I feel like some things aren't as like public as writing is. And so
Mm,
with writing especially, the the doing of the thing is what makes you better at it. And
yeah,
you
yeah,
you do have to put it out. And that's, again, that's true with, that's just plain old mastery, right? That's not
yeah,
necessarily unique to writing. But with writing, what's usually pretty interesting about it is a lot of people end up seeing that journey, especially where we are now. Now, that maybe wasn't always the case because you couldn't get things published. And so lots of old school writers sort of have their manuscripts, tucked away in old drawers or whatever. That's not really the case now. In today's world, the term in software is you build in public. And so you write in public for a lot of this stuff. And so, people will see you become more okay over time and
yeah.
eventually see you get really, really good. And there's going to be a lot of people who buy into you and buy into the journey early on that'll be with you for years to come. And I think that's exciting. That's really cool.
There's a lot of good points you just brought up there. One of them, the most recent one that popped in my mind is having a base of people. Um, I
Mhm.
again, it's not a so Brandon Sanderson and his Kickstarter had what, like 180,000 people support him, and I think that now that he's super popular, he sells like 500,000 books within, I don't know if it's the first year of a new release. It's some obscene number, like just a crazy amount. Um, and a lot of people think, okay, I used to be someone like this. I would look at different royalty numbers when I was going to go through Amazon publishing and all this. I was like, man, I need like 50,000 people to buy my book like every single year when it comes out. When
Yeah.
when I start applying different, so I'm going to be selling my books through my own website. I'm going to be doing pretty much everything myself. And then when you look at how often you can write a book, um, the number dwindles down to I'm now somewhere between 5,000 and 7,500 people that I need to build a base of over the next
Yeah.
10 years to reach my goal.
Right.
That's
That's
all I
like,
need.
that's not bad at all. That's
And
like
that's
nothing, right?
and another thing that you said, now that's that is easier said than done. There are a lot of people that write books out there, but that's why you try to arm up and give yourself the most ammunition. Whether you're someone like Steven and you try with 5 podcasts while also running like 5 businesses on the side, or you just mean you stick with you stick with one podcast. Think how many again, it's just narrowing down the chances of success by doing what other people are not doing. So how many people that write a book are writing at least a quality book that you can read and say this is not bad?
Mm.
Okay, so maybe half. Let's just say it's half. Then you keep dwindling down more. How many of these people have a YouTube channel and consistently make good videos and interact with their audience? That probably dwindles down very
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah.
Really
Oh,
cuts it
yeah.
down. How many people are writing consistently? So someone might write a book and then 2 years later write another maybe unrelated book and just are scattering. So yeah, when you dwindle it down, you become that, if you will, the top 1% of people in your category that are trying to be successful by doing all the right things. So just a
Yeah.
few good points there that you brought up.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And as you were saying that, it sort of occurred to me that, like, I think one of the reasons why today's landscape is so cool for so many people. Think about a publisher, right? A publisher has a lot of work to do. A publisher gets a lot of things submitted to them
Mm.
by a lot of good people. And they have to take bets ultimately
Yeah.
on the author, right? That they think is going to be the next big thing. And that's essentially what they're doing is they're taking a bet. They are taking a risk. But what YouTube makes possible specifically, and other avenues as well, but YouTube does a darn good job of it, is putting you directly in touch with the voracious fan base of the type of writing that you do. Let's just face it. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who just voraciously consume all of the epic fantasy that they can get their hands on. And so what's happening is they are actively looking to find whoever the next Brandon Sanderson is, etc. And they don't care where they come from because they're willing to give anybody a chance. They just want to be a consumer of it. Now they'll be able to tell pretty quickly if they're that into it, like how good it is. And so it is important that you be good and that you have quality, but the chances of you being able to spread the word of mouth and build up your own base through channels like YouTube is just a much more sure bet than relying on even traditional publishing. And when you couple that with what you're talking about, like if you're building up the fan base on YouTube, then they only find out about you through that channel. And so they're going to go wherever you tell them to go to buy their thing. Yeah. And there are there's a couple people who would like only ever buy, like strictly speaking, buy from Amazon so they could read on their Kindle or whatever. But most people, I think, would be just fine, especially if you give them the same abilities. But you just give them the Mobi file or the EPUB file now, and they can still download it on their Kindle, and it's the same experience. It literally uploads to all their devices and everything. So you can give people the same exact experience of them being able to read wherever they want to on their Kindle or ship them the physical book. They can get the same experience, possibly even better, because you can do some unique stuff with the packaging and really cool stuff. And yet that's coming all into your pocket, and then you just have to cover some of those printing costs, but it's nowhere near as much as you would have to pay Amazon in royalties, even on their most, forgiving plans. So it's pretty crazy stuff now.
Yeah. And the way that's kind of the way I looked at it. Yes, you do have kind of mid-tier writers who are successful as publishers, but really to be as super successful, you have to be at the very top through publishing, just because after all the royalties and everything, you have to have a lot of people buy your books to make it. And so that kind of quickly led me to wanting to self-publish. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing all the heavy labor, why would I still give so much royalties to Amazon when they're not doing a darn thing for me except for putting me on their platform like they do with literally anyone who wants to put anything on there? And that's where, taking matters into your own hand. You said a few other things there that brought up some stuff. I kind of forget what they were, but you brought up some really good points though.
One of the things I think that's cool about what you're doing, I know we're talking a lot about this, but I think it's important, is you're showing up on YouTube. The same thing that you said about the way that you think about the writing seems to also be how you're approaching YouTube. And I'm interested in this because it's actually the way that I'm approaching YouTube as well. In fact, I literally wrote a post today. Let's see, was it today? Was it an email that I wrote today? No, it was today. The title of my email to my email list today was "Why I Purposefully Make Boring, in quotes, YouTube Videos and What You Can Learn from It." And well, I'll just read how I started it out. In a world where every video has 730 jump cuts, my videos are primarily talking head. The microphone even covers my face a little bit, which apparently annoys some people. Most video professionals would have a heyday critiquing my channel. At least I have a halfway decent background, but that's about it. Thing is, it's not an accident. I do this on purpose. And That's true. I do. And the two reasons that I gave were one, otherworldliness, and two, preference. So what do I mean by those? Well, otherworldliness means being different than everybody else, right? Sticking out. And ironically, even though the thing to do to, because we supposedly live in a world where, you got like a 20-second or less attention span. I think I most recently heard it was like 9 seconds or something insane like that.
Insane.
Just absolutely nuts, right? Well, in some cases, it's like if everyone is zigging, you should zag. And everybody now has 730 jump cuts in their video, and it's literally hard to watch in some cases. And
I agree.
so
Yep.
so I'm making videos that are different because it's different. And what's interesting about that is I get people all the time who comment on my stuff and say, "Hey, you are like really like you're the most like what did somebody say? The way that they put it was you are the most authentic person in this space." And I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's true, but like, I try to be authentic. Don't get me wrong. I try to be real. I try to be genuine. But I can't help but think that half the reason that they said that is because my videos are not overproduced or just like me talking and being real and like having a conversation, right? And then the other reason was just preference. Frankly, I don't want to get good enough at video editing to do all the fancy stuff that other people do. I just don't want to do it. And so I know that if I force myself to do that, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I don't know what your reasoning is or how you do it, but your videos are, quote unquote boring, if you would look to some of the other ones that are around. But the way you even started your channel with the first video on there was like, look, I'm not a YouTuber and I don't want to be a YouTuber. I'm a writer and like I'm sharing my journey and I hope you come along with me. That's different than being a YouTuber, strictly speaking.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to bring up is the very first episode, and I literally just said I'm not a YouTuber. So don't get the wrong impression of me. I'm a writer, and that's what this channel is for. So I'm going to have filler words throughout there. I'm not going to have it, not only just the constant, what do you call it? The jumping or the cutting?
It's called a jump cut. Yeah.
So not just the jump cuts, but the zooming in, the zooming out, and then
it
drives me bonkers. So there's not going to be any flashing things, but again, that goes to, I want to attract the people that are going to support me. Like, I don't care about attracting 1,000 views the second I upload a video if it means that no one's going to buy that book. It just catches their eye. Like, for instance, I only have, I just started, I only have 11 subscribers, and one of my new subscribers the other day already put a comment out, like kind of adding to the video I did. He said, because I'm going through the Dune series, and he said, "Hey, here's a video that breaks down how to actually like pronounce the words. I think would be super helpful." And just getting that engagement just from a few people, like that's what I'm looking for. So the authenticity.
You were a nobody on the internet, whatever, like a week ago, and now you've got 11 people following your stuff. That's the power, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so now I will say this, but I have good reason for it. I have jump cuts in my video, but it's literally because I am such a writer by nature. That's how I get my thoughts out. So when I'm in front of the camera, I can't talk for 2 or 3 minutes straight without having to pause and think about my next thought. So my jump cuts are necessary unless you want to stare at me thinking for 20 seconds at a time.
No, totally. And that's what I say. Like, it's sort of like that minimum, like you talked about, sort of like this minimum threshold of quality. Well, again, that's true in the writing, but that's also true in the promotion, right? Like this right here that you see, right? Again, I have a pretty decent video background. It's not the best. I don't use the nicest camera. It's an iPhone 13 camera, and this right here, if you were to seeing it, is 1080p, but it takes 4K video. And so on the 4K, when I upload that to my channels, it looks pretty good. And so it's like it gets a bare minimum, right? Of what, like, I think if you don't at least have a somewhat organized, nice looking background, it's really hard to do. And if you don't have a quality camera and quality mic, it's hard to do. But you're doing the same thing, a nice background, quality mic, real good quality camera, your uploads all look great. And so if you at least have that, like, you can start putting your ideas out there and start getting subscribers right away. It's really a cool time.
You just meet those bare minimum criteria. And again, it's the work itself isn't hard, it's the time and consistency. So, like, making
Yeah.
just, like, 4 or 5 YouTube videos a week, mine aren't super long, they're between 10 and 20 minutes, probably the average is about 15, and the recording doesn't take much longer than that with pauses. Um, but it's a lot, you have to make a thumbnail for each of them. You have to think about a pretty good description, I need to work better on that, some tags to do, so there's a lot that goes into it, but
Yeah.
that's what separates you from someone else who's not doing that or doing it poorly.
Yeah, exactly right. And the better you get at that, the better results you start to see, right? That's the thing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so so right now on the channel, you started out by sort of covering, well, you started with a few videos just talking about like your general philosophies on writing and some of like how you form ideas and stuff, and that was cool. And now you've started doing your series on Dune. And so tell me how
Yeah.
that's going.
I'm really excited about that. One of the Dune videos actually has quite a bit of views and watch time for as early as my channel is. Um, I like it because I'm actually going through Dune just for like myself and taking my time as a study. And I think it's gone really well. I don't know if you've watched any of those, but I'll let other people be the judge. Um, it's helped me, I think, promote my writing in the way where I'll express my own thoughts and maybe disagree with the way that Herbert might have done something. And it gives me an opportunity to say, hey, like Frank Herbert did it this way. Here's how I would do it in my books. And it just gives people a good perspective on not just having someone to read Dune with through, or if they've read it before, just listening to the analysis. But the main goal is to sell my product in the end and to get people to like me as a writer. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm accomplishing that while doing it.
Well, yeah, and it's just such an interesting thing that you've been very clear about you're not reviewing the book, you're not a
Yeah.
YouTube channel that
Right.
reviews books, you're a writer, you're giving your take on his writing and how you would have approached the same writing a little differently. And that's like juicy, like that's behind the scenes, backstage pass, just like the stuff that people love, right? It's getting
Yeah.
a it's almost like how the sausage is made, but like you're doing it in the context of already important work that other people had done. And so it's like if you were just talking about your ideas right now, that it probably wouldn't go very far because it'd be really hard for people to
Yeah.
find you. But using Duke
Exactly.
as a way to sort of like, think through that. And then once you move on to whatever the next thing is, great idea.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of taken out of yours and our playbook together. Our most popular video on this channel is the Michael Heiser video.
Yeah.
And we didn't intend on it blowing up kind of the way that I say blowing up. It's our most viewed one. But just because of the popularity of Michael Heiser and everything, it kind of got popular. So yeah, when I put that hashtag on my video, hashtag Dune, I'm not doing it in a way just to get views. I like Dune and it's an interesting case study and I think I'm making quality content. But yeah, being able to tap into that vein and give my own thoughts on it is an excellent way starting out to get people attracted to my channel. 100%.
Well, yeah, right, because it's you're doing what the old school copywriter Robert Collier used to say. You're entering the conversation that's already in their mind, and that's what you have
Yeah.
to do with marketing. And sometimes, sometimes you have to place what you want to do as the cargo being carried along by the vehicle of what somebody else wants to have.
Mm.
Right. And so like the Heiser example, spoiler alert, we are planning to probably around the first of the year make a little bit of a shift in our content strategy, a little bit more in that direction. Actually, probably quite a bit more in that direction, to be fair, talking about if you're into biblical, ancient Near Eastern, divine council worldview stuff, we're gonna start talking about that a little bit more
And it's
because
going to be fun.
it's going to be amazing. Well, at this point, our Heiser video has 3,500 views, and
Yeah.
our next most viewed video has like 112. So, it's pretty clear, right? Like what what people want. And the thing is so much of the other stuff that we want to talk about and like to talk about, we can still talk about in the context of using that conversation that other people are already having. And so that's what smart marketers and smart business people and learn how to do is tap into the conversation people are already having. And you're just in the perfect position to do that with Dune and with a lot of these other epic fantasy books that you could be going through, but not just like reviewing the book. That's kind of boring, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
space for that, but like you're giving your take as a writer.
And
So cool.
I thought about doing reviewing too, and a long time ago, reviewing like video games because it's just fun. It's fun to put a number on something, and
Of
we have
course,
our
yeah.
meter. It's such a fun thing to do. But
Yeah.
what was once something that everyone loved to do and look for, and I know that people still go look for reviews to get takes on it. It's become kind of bland. Like it
Yeah.
almost like what's the point in the end? So
It's like not very useful
it's
for most
not.
things,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And so
It's like, yeah, this
rather
was a great book. Like, okay, thanks. I know, but like, because how do you review? Sorry, but how,
no, you're good. Go for it.
presumably somebody's reviewing a book. Like somebody's going to look at a review of a book not after the book, but before the book. But if you look at it before the book, you have to stay away from spoilers. So how do you
Yes.
like really give your take on the content of the book when you're trying to avoid spoilers versus what you're doing is probably something that again somebody's going to do like as you're reading along, or you need to be putting it into a
Mhm.
playlist if you're not already, by the way. You need to start that right away.
It is.
Start
It is in
adding
a
it.
playlist.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Right. So you add it to the Dune playlist, and then when people start their read along, they can go find that playlist and have it there and then just walk with you
Yeah.
as they're reading, and you're not worried about spoilers or whatever. It's more of an experience that you're doing together, right? It's way different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And think about again, I'm focusing that certain audience. I want an audience who loves reading and who loves books. I don't want someone who wants not saying I don't want everyone, but like I'm not targeting someone who wants a quick number. Okay, it's an 8, it's probably good. Let me read it, or oh, that reviewer's crap. I want someone who enjoys the appreciation of a book. And those are the people that I want to form my base. And those are the people that hopefully I'll attract. So yeah, any type of video
Yeah.
you do or a blog that you make or email that you send out is meant to kind of represent you and represent the people who you want to buy your product or support you.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing too
So
that I'm gonna
yeah, go
do
ahead.
is I just thought of this today, and it's something so simple, but it just hit me. Is once I come out with my first book and then subsequent books, I'm actually gonna do the same thing. Not a reaction analysis because it's my book, but I'm gonna go chapter by chapter, and I'm just going to basically like when you watch a movie and they have the director's commentary on it. I'm basically gonna do that and just go through each
Love
chapter and
that.
say, hey, here's why I did this with this character, and I just think that would be a really cool exploratory way to just even share more of why I wrote what I did. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I'm already looking forward to it. So, all right. So, to the extent we can, and we can be very vague, but let's
Yeah.
let's plant a little bit of a time capsule, right? So, I'm
Oh
imagining
boy.
right now we have maybe 3 people who actually listen to this podcast. Me, you, and
One of our moms.
one of our
One of
moms,
maybe the
probably.
wives, maybe.
And so obviously we're not giving anything away, but like, and I don't even know how best to ask this question, but like,
Yeah.
man, 10 years from now, like, how cool is it? Somebody goes and they find this video where like the ultra famous, like respected and revered J. Alex Jagier has like talked about the launch of his writer's journey on the Storyworld podcast. And it's like, oh man, how cool to go back and see it all. And so what I'm gonna ask 2 versions of this, and then hopefully
Yeah.
from this you can sort of gain something. The one version of the question would be, what do you hope like to have accomplished in that next 10 years, in this upcoming 10 years, and like what are you most excited about in the writing, and like how,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. But then the other thing is like, you know what's it about, your first story, the first things you're writing, like is there any kind of genre, any kind of like any sort of like juicy little details that you can go into, even at a like a broad level, just to kind of get us excited about what's to come.
Yeah, man, I wish I had a quick synopsis to whip out and just kind of give you to the first book. But I'll answer your first question first to the 6 fans that I have 10 years from now who are going to be looking back at this video. This is for you. This is for you.
I hope there's more than 6 after 10 years.
If no, I'm doing something wrong. So in there's it's a twofold goal. There's the business financial aspect. In the end, yeah, I really want to make money from this. I want to be able to work from home, writing my books, just have that lifestyle. And and be a writer. So that's kind of the goal for there. But then there's the actual writing goal. If in 10 years it's not successful, I'm still going to keep writing, because
Mm.
I know, like people say, there's just one person. I know in 10 years, if it's not going to be what I need to work from home, there's going to be at least a few hundred people out there that are enjoying my writing and want to discuss with it and have the same feeling that I got when I read like Lord of the Rings and other fantasies. And I
Mm.
guess going to your next question, yeah, I can't give too much information on this specific book. I want to have a neat and tidy synopsis when I deliver it, but it is an epic
Yeah.
fantasy book that basically revolves around three protagonists that find themselves caught up in a whirlwind of a storm when they have a unknown enemy attacking their land that's been protected for several years, and they don't know who the enemy is. It could be an internal force, it could be an external, and they just kind of get sucked up into it. So it's a
Interesting.
it's weird when I think of epic fantasy. I think of these big like 10 book long like epics. This is a
Sure.
standalone
Yeah.
novel that relates to my other books, so it's going to pack a punch that it's has a lot of
That's
it
cool.
moves quite quickly. But yeah, I'm excited for it to come out.
Man, that's just super cool. I'm ultra pumped, and like the secrecy, I feel like I'm guarding national secrets. It's like
Well,
so cool.
Steve, you get to be one of the special people that get to read probably the second draft of the book. So
I'm so excited.
one of
Yes, I
maybe like
can't
this
wait.
many people that'll do it.
Right.
So.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting times. Well, this has been great. So, Alex, plug your stuff again one more time. What's the YouTube channel? What's the website? And so that we can just follow along with your journey.
Yeah, and we'll put the links in the description. But the YouTube channel is just J period Alex Jiguer, Giguere, and the website's the
Yep.
same, the letter J, Alex Giguere.com. And again, if you go to the website, praise Steve for it. Great, amazing job. I am super thrilled on it. But yeah, and you can find me on YouTube there. We'll put the link in the description, and I'm definitely looking for more subscribers at this stage in the game, being so early.
Yeah.
It's funny how just this early, I actually think it's a kind of vigorous goal, even though it seems so small. I want a new subscriber every day until the end of the year. And then after that, I'll have
Yeah.
maybe 50 videos up, 40 to 50. And then after that, I don't know what my goal will be next step, but by the end of the year, I want around 50 or 60 subscribers. So that's kind of my short-term goal for building up my my base.
Well, you're certainly doing great so far. And I mean, I think it
Thank
could
you.
even it could surpass that. I
And
mean,
it could even I could have
great that you're putting out videos.
yeah, I mean 40 videos by then if I keep, building up the quality. All it takes is one or two or three to
Yeah.
kind of take off, and then so it could jump up from there, but I think one a day is a pretty good goal to have.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So should we do some stories of the week?
Yeah, well, let's get people excited for next week, because next week I'm going to flip this
Oh,
off you
yes.
and ask you some questions on some stuff. So if
Oh,
you're interested about Steve Schramm's life and his 20 businesses, and I'm sure he probably has 20 kids by now too. If you're interested in his life, we're going to be going through. We're going to be going
I'm not
through
even
that.
interested in it, so I don't know how anyone else could be. This is I told Alex that this is not a good idea, but if you're
It will
glutton for
be.
punishment, tune in next week.
I'll make it exciting. We'll be good. Story of the week. I did a lot of talking this episode. It's kind of been about me a little bit. So why don't you take it away? Then I'll finish up.
Yeah, sure. So, I keep a little file of stories of the week to go back to, and this is one that I stumbled upon a while ago, but it's actually been really, really helpful in my presentations, in the way that I talk and in the way that I speak. So, the short version, if that's possible, there's a girl. She is an actress. Her name is McCall Jones, McCall Jones, Jones, and she teaches on this concept called charisma hacking. And it's really cool. And if I were to just kind of put it in really simple terms, most people act one way in real life, but then the second they try to get on video or in front of people to speak or whatever, they become a different person entirely. And what they do is they become who they think they want to be, or who they think other people want them to be. And they flop, because they're not being genuine and people can tell.
Mm.
And so what this girl does is she basically took her knowledge from what she learned about how to be certain ways, and be herself and everything in acting classes and in her acting career, and is trying to help entrepreneurs and people who like really want to try to get on video and stuff and come across as authentic, understand sort of how they should show up, like how they become authentic. And so
Mm.
she's got sort of this whole system and this whole grid for things that I find really fascinating. And there's even like, sort of like pitfalls. Like if you're one certain way, but then like you act another certain way, she like shows how the audience would perceive you as being disingenuous or disingenuous or not genuine on that particular point. And it's all very, very fascinating stuff. So like for me, um I am what in her framework would be called, the three things that I have are light, fix, and impress. Light, fix, and impress. What does that mean? So light means trust the process. So there's like three ways to think about that, right? There are people who get up and they say, "Trust me, I'm the guru, I'm the expert. Do what I say," and leaning on your own authority. And then there's people who are like, trust the process. This will work. This has worked for other people before. This will work for you too. This is the process. You got to walk through it. And then there's people who are like, you can do it. You just got to believe in yourself.
Mm.
You've got everything you already need within you. You see what I'm saying? There's like three different things. And some people are very naturally drawn to one of those three, and that's how they come across as genuine. So, but like you might think that somebody wants you to say something different, and so you act different. So for me, again, it's trust the process. That when I'm showing up well, I'm saying trust the process. The third one or the second thing is fix. So and there's like such a rabbit hole here that you can go down with all this stuff, but fix basically means that you're diving into the context of a situation. You're not necessarily diving into like somebody's emotional state or like coming alongside them and saying, "Hey, it's going to be okay," like whatever. It's like, no, how do we fix this problem? Here's the context of the problem. Let's fix it. And then the third one is impress. So what that basically means is that I decide what's important. So there's different things like, you could like try to get people excited, or you could decide what's important, or you could there's like a negative of that too, where like you help other people decide what they think is important. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, but that's not what I am. I if I just get really hyped up and like I start talking really fast, I get really excited about something, like there are some people that's their natural way of doing it, but that's not me. What I do is I slow down, I emphasize, I say, you need to listen to this. This is really important, right? And so just sort of having that, and it's really easy, just light, fix, impress, light, fix, impress. I just know what that is. And so I sort of just like think about that now every time before I'm getting ready to go, like to speak or stand up in church or whatever. And like any of that sort of doubt or like anxiety, which I don't really have that much anyway. Just, I heard a quote one time that was something like, especially it was specifically in the context of preaching. I don't know that I totally agree with it, but I heard it and I was like, yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. And the quote was like, if you're nervous about getting up to preach, then you're thinking too much about yourself. That's probably true, right? But in some cases, but not in all cases. And so for me, any like anxiety or whatever that does go away, or that is there, goes away immediately when I just remember light, fix, impress, because I know that's how I show up. And as long as I show up thinking about the context of what's happening, telling people to trust the process that I'm giving them, and then highlighting what's important. As long as I'm doing those things, I know that I'm showing up in the way that people expect me to, and it's most genuine. So that was really long-winded, but it's a super fascinating thing. So if you are trying to like do stuff on camera or speak in public, or like even be on a podcast or something, and you're concerned that people aren't sure about how you should come across or whatever, this is like a really, really helpful little framework. And I learned everything that I know about it just from watching a few YouTube videos. So
Interesting. This is a compliment to you, Steve. I think you have more acronyms in you and in processes and step-by-step things than any person that I know. Anytime there's something
I've
that
got
comes up,
lists.
Steve says there's a 5-point thing, and it's this,
Oh
this.
man. Yeah, I love it. No, I
Um,
love it. I love the idea of frameworks because that helps me
yeah,
remember where I'm at
that's true.
and helps me do things. So
Another thing too, you're just saying how people like behave differently in front of a camera or when other people are watching. Have you ever? I always think it's funny. I get the seriousness of it, but that some people when they pray, their whole demeanor changes. Have you ever noticed people that do
oh
that?
yes.
And there's
Oh
one person
yes.
I'm super close to, so I won't call him out by name, but it just like every time I think, "That's not you." And maybe
Right.
I might go to
Right.
the I think I go the opposite extreme there. If I'm, like, praying in front of a group, I just, like I'm really just casual, and
Yeah,
maybe I
same.
feel like
Yeah.
maybe I should be a little more serious, but I don't know, like, I just pray how I talk. But anyway, I just didn't know if you had run into that
Yeah.
as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's insanity. I actually, yeah, like somebody just posted something about that the other day, and I was like, yes, that's so true. It's like this is
And
the most frustrating thing.
And there is a difference between some people get serious, that's fine, but other people just, like, get really, "This is it," and just it's just totally
Yeah.
different compared to what you're used to. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we move on,
yeah,
I looked up because I, I do have a full document here that when I was taking notes on when I was watching these different things, and
mhm,
I did just think it was maybe important to point out the different pieces of this. So, like I said, I was light, fix, impress.
mhm,
So the light is it's about authority. So how to get
mm,
people to move to action, right? So again, how does somebody perceive you as an authority? So that would be the trust the process. Then the second one is compassion. So it's about trust, how to get somebody to trust you. And so that's where the fix comes in. People trust me when I dive into the situation and start talking about the context, not the other ones, which are like feelings or mirroring somebody else.
yeah,
And then the third one was how to get somebody to pay attention to you or entertainment, right? So some people amaze by deciding what's exciting. Some people charm by deciding like where the spotlight goes, and then some people impress by deciding what's important. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So it's about authority, compassion, and entertainment. So
that's
yeah,
cool.
kind of fascinating. Yeah.
Awesome stuff, Steve. Well, my story of the week, um, is a little bit more about me, so I ran my first ever marathon last week, and I finished it.
So
So,
exciting. Yay.
yes,
Amen.
that
You're
was
not
good.
dead. That's a good first step.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't die. My
A
toes came
lack of
close to
death.
it. Yeah, I had a lack of
Uh,
death through that marathon. Yeah, so I trained without going into all the specifics about, like, the current status I'm in and everything like that. I still have quite a bit of weight to lose to get to optimum running weight. This is my first series going through it, so the miles I ran each week weren't too high because I didn't wanna overdo it and get injured. So, at definitely the lowest point I will be physically ready for a marathon. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I actually ran the first 16 miles doing an 8-minute, 45-minute pace, which was what my goal was. But then when I hit 16 miles, my body just ran out of energy again for all the things I just listed. Just my body wasn't
yeah.
ready for it. So for the last 10 miles, it was pretty grueling, just shuffling along, walking, and it was pretty rough. But I finished it, and so I'm happy I got through it.
Amen, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legit. Actually, I didn't show any pictures or anything, but I used your black toe story as fodder for an email.
Oh, did
I
you?
did.
Did you
I
really?
did. I did. It was legit. You'll get a kick out of this. Let's see. Yep, I titled the email "Marathon Clients Who Give You a Black Toe." Um, and yeah, I told the story about your run and everything, and I was like, then that got me to kind of thinking about how, because I told you about
That's
these
funny.
emails that I've been
Yeah,
sending,
yeah,
and how I've been,
yeah.
just been using stories and just finding
That's
stuff.
great.
And I said, I got to thinking, there's these marathon clients who sometimes they give you a black toe. It's like at first it's going really, really well. The numbers all are lining up. You're hitting the stride. Everything's good. And then boom, the switch, kind of flips and they like suddenly like the
Uh,
project starts dragging on. They creep the scope and then you like dread getting their emails and they give you a black toe. So you
that
made
is
it into one of my
fantastic.
emails.
That made my
Isn't that
day.
awesome?
That was great. In good news, the toenail is still on the toe. Um,
That's great.
I did, if you get queasy, you can get off now. I soaked it in some of like Brooks foot bath thing, my wife's foot
Yeah.
bath, and it did a world of good. But then it was softened, so I was like, okay, I can get some of this like the ingrown nail out. I can start clipping it and
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
it up a
yeah.
little bit. And I noticed it started to kind of seep a little bit. And I was like, okay, so it's little blood or whatever. And then for whatever reason, I like pressed down on my nail and blood just like squirted at the end of my toenail and just shot into
Whoa.
the air. I said, oh, that's not good. So I wrapped it up, and apparently underneath the nail was a blister that formed somehow like a bubble width. And
Wow.
so it's still on the mend, but it feels a lot better.
Wow, that's
So
crazy. I don't
so
want to talk about it anymore.
yeah, we won't. We won't. Anyway, thank you, Steve, for listening through to that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Storyworld Podcast, and that's really exciting. I can't wait for next week, and I can't wait to kind of shift our focus a little bit and see what the new year brings in terms of the direction of the podcast. It should be fun.
Yeah, a
Maybe
lot of
that
good.
should start season 3.
I think it probably will. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to our 3-hour discussion next week about you, Steve. That'll be a
Oh
joy.
no, I will do my best. You have to rein me in.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. All right, Steve.
All right, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Yep. Everybody share the podcast, like it on YouTube, hide your kids, hide your wife, and we'll see you next time.